Hello and welcome for part 2 of the van build series. Now, as you can see here, we've made some progress. We've been working diligently on getting the bed frames constructed for both the lower and the upper bed, but I want to show you how we've been doing this. This is an example of one of the frames we've been building. It's built out of 1/16 wall, 1x1 aluminum square tube. The corners have 1x2 square tubes so we can join them together. I'm actually using fasteners to fasten them together inside the van. I'm not welding inside the van because if I weld it to the van, obviously we're going to get weld spatter all over the place and that could run a risk of actually burning a hole through the wall. Now with that, one thing we are doing for insulation is we're using polyiso insulation panels that are going to fit inside the frames just like this. These polyiso panels will not only provide insulation for warmth, but it also provide very important sound deadening, because one of the features the van does not have is very good sound deadening. And this definitely helps keep the noise down on the inside. In fact, as we've been driving along with just a little bit of insulation that we have noticed a significant noise reduction with the polyiso foam and the styrofoam and the sound deadener adhesive foam that's been going on the walls, because all that's made a substantial difference in the tone and noise of the van. Historically, when people have done builds, myself included, wood has been the go-to material. And one of my goals with this build was to not use any wood at all. I didn't want to use any wood products anywhere for a couple of reasons. First off, I've had to do a lot of motorhome repair over the years where motorhomes have used wood. And the motorhomes that have used wood over the years have never held up very well. And it's not due to the fact that wood has had any issues with it, it's due to the fact that motorhomes always leak. Now, I really hope that my van will never leak, but the reality is, it might, because it is a fiberglass panel van and it is held together by adhesive. Now granted, this is a lot different construction than you would see in like the motorhome industry, but the point still remains, I don't want to use wood. Wood rots and it does not hold its structural integrity as well as like plastics. As part of the build process, I'm replacing all panels with plastic panels. My first pick was going to be the standard panel you would get at Home Depot. This is your standard plastic panel that you would see in the back of Home Depot by the kitchen areas. It's really flimsy, it's really only good for like wall cover, and it is moisture resistant. So even though it does pass the moisture resistance category for me, it does not provide any structural rigidity. One nice thing about using wood is wood provides structural rigidity. It helps reinforce the panels that it's built onto. Home Depot sells these 1/16 inch plastic panels they use for lining kitchens. Now these are different than FRP panels. These are literally just flimsy plastic panels you can buy at Home Depot. And my idea was to use these for some of the paneling on the bed frame structure and other pieces too. But upon actually getting them installed, I noticed a big issue here. And that is that when I apply a weight, the panel actually deflects upwards. So if I were to sit in the middle here, the panel has a lot of interior deflection and that pulls on the rivets as it's being sat on here. So I have to replace the panel with something a lot more robust. I've had to design my own panels using different materials, and originally I tried using this plastic, but it didn't work very well. So after that plastic, I went to your standard FRP panel. This is your FRP panel. This is known as fiberglass reinforced plastic. Your FRP panel does offer a lot more rigidity and strength than your standard plastic panel, but it still didn't quite have what I was looking for. This weekend, I went down to a fantastic company that I'd never even known of prior to this weekend, and that's Professional Plastics down in Auburn. And I picked up this. This is expanded PVC foam. Now, originally when I saw foam, the first thing that came to mind for me was like this stuff. I was thinking styrofoam, where it's like soft and squishy, your standard foam. And they call this foam, but it's a hard foam. This is solid, and you can cut this just like wood, and this adds structural rigidity to whatever you're making, so that way not only are you going to get the benefits of wood with the structural rigidity, like the ability for it to resist bending, but also you're going to get the benefits of running plastic, where it's going to be, one, lightweight, but two, resistance to moisture, and three, you can paint it just like wood too. And with that, I want to show you the first panel that we've made using this expanded foam plastic. This is the platform for the lower bed that I've created. It has the aluminum frame that we just saw earlier, very similar to that. It has the foam insulation on the inside, and this one also has the FRP panel riveted to the bottom side here. Now, since the FRP panel on this one is really only going to be helped to resist moisture and keep the whole thing together, I didn't need anything substantial on the bottom. But the top side is where it's really important, because the top side is that expanded PVC foam. This is solid. This is incredibly strong, and this, as a composite system, is incredibly strong. Matter of fact, this whole panel probably weighs maybe about 20 pounds with all the aluminum and all the styrofoam and the PVC and the FRP. And when I put it on the bed, you can see that I can sit on this thing and it's plenty strong just for me. So this is a really nice system that I've come up with for creating the structural integrity of all my panels. This is one of the frames Sam had made earlier. This is one of the side frames that's going to support the top bed. And in one of the videos, it shows Sam talking about building these frames. Now, one of the things we're having to do here is we have to weld up these aluminum frames, because these aluminum frames are what create the superstructure for the beds inside the van. And I have one of my students here who's going to compete in welding this year. This is Sam. Sam's been doing a lot of the fitment and a lot of the aluminum welding on the frames here. In fact, he's done the vast majority of it at this point. And I wanted to include Sam here because I wanted Sam to talk briefly about what it's like welding aluminum. Because he's been welding aluminum for all of about, what, a month now?
Yeah,
if that. At most a month. And you welded for me last year in the advanced class.
Yep.
And welding aluminum is a lot different than welding steel, isn't it?
Very different.
So you want to give a little feedback on what it's like?
It's a lot more sensitive. You do it a lot quicker, but it's also a lot more skill demanding. Because you go too quick, it doesn't melt right or fuse right. So you just get a lot of metal on the top. So you got to get it perfect. It's really sensitive.
But Sam's having to learn the hard way that welding on thin aluminum is really difficult. And so, but he's done a killer job on these things. And what I wanted to show for a little bit of the build here is I wanted to show Sam make a couple passes on aluminum welds here. So that's what we're going to show right now. So what kind of style are we doing? Push weld or are we doing a full weld?
We're doing a push weld.
Also, the thing with aluminum is it has to be really clean. It's supposed to be doing a stainless steel brush before you do any passes. Now, I don't have a stainless steel brush right now, so we've been using a standard carbon brush. It gets it clean up enough, but it allows them to make better passes when well, his other ones are better too. Like you can see some of the other ones around here that he's been doing. Like this one's a really clean one down here. He did a little bit earlier. And so it's just tricky to get aluminum just right because it is so thin and it just melts away right away. But this is what the finished frames will look like, but without all the interior features built into them. The frames are lightweight. This frame maybe weighs about a pound. And when they're done, they will look like this. They will have that plastic panel on the outside, which has been riveted to the back side here, and they will use screws as fasteners to hold them all to place to create the superstructure of the frame as you see here. As you guys saw a moment ago, the bed frame will go right where I'm standing. People might be wondering why we have these gigantic voids here. Well, since I'm always building something, and it doesn't really matter what I'm building, I just know it's always going to be building something, and sometimes I have to transport long material. I wanted to make it so that way I could still use the van for transporting long material. And so I created these access doors. They're going to have removable doors here and here. So that way, if I have to haul any goods that are like 16 feet in length, I can run the material through the door all the way up into the front compartment here, and I can carry 16-foot long goods while still maintaining my camper van. And this way, if I need to carry something home for whatever reason, I can do it. So that's why I'm gonna have these little access doors in the front and the back here. This is the access getting out of the bed. So to get it out of the bed, you'll have to actually crawl through this opening here. An important factor being part of this build out is making sure I don't create any new holes. I want to use as many existing holes as possible because I don't know if the factory might warranty or might not warranty something that has been cut, drilled, or anything else. And so any modification that I do, I want to make sure I can put the vehicle back to complete stock if this were to have the worst case scenario, like the seats or anything like that. Because of that, I've chosen a very unique mounting solution for my bed frames. I've chosen perforated angle to mount the bed frames to the existing holes for the slider door cover panels. As you can see here, I used existing hardware, and the bed frames are actually held in place with number 14 self-tapping screws. Now, even though I'm not a huge fan of self-tapping screws, they are a number 14 size screw and they are drilling into 1/8 inch thick wall aluminum. So even though I'd prefer to use a riv nut, they are plenty strong. In the front, eventually we're gonna have a refrigerator, a sink, and a microwave. And then over here, I'm gonna have the toilet and the shower, but I'm planning on cooking up something really interesting here. One of the other people that had commented on one of the other videos had mentioned a sliding shelving system in the bathroom, and I really liked that idea. So I think I'm gonna incorporate something very similar to the sliding shelving system that goes in the bathroom. So stay tuned, that's gonna be really interesting if I can pull this one off. I'm really looking forward to it. With that being said, that's the end of the update for now. Stay tuned, there will be more.